break down the 33rd team's latest NFL mock draft from my buddy Kyle Krabs. Do you want me to do my own NFL mock draft? Like the video? If so, this show will go on both our NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports and our regular Chat Sports YouTube channel. Whichever channel gets the most likes gets to have it first. Other one will get it second. My own one, at least. And the main one gets this one first. So if you haven't already, make sure you like today's video. All right, this order is based on what the 33rd team did, so do not blame me. I take no responsibility. Cam Ward goes number 1 to the New York Football Giants. If Cam Ward plays like he has done over the course of the first 3 games against probably not great competition, he'll win the Heisman Trophy probably, and he's got a great chance to be the number 1 overall pick. And we said the exact same thing last year. He was balling out at Washington State. First 4 games, 4.5 games, he was killing it. Down the stretch for the Cougars, it fell apart. So I need to see him carry it through an entire season. If he does that against better competition, this makes a ton of sense and is a lot more fun for the Giants than the Daniel Jones era. Number 2 is Carson Beck. And I am worried about this particular fit. I think Carolina's got talent issues. Guess what Georgia doesn't have, really? Talent issues. How many 5 stars do they have? I think Carson Beck is a good quarterback. But I also think the floor is a Kenny Pickett-style guy, and the ceiling is you get Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins. Now, if you get that quickly, get that on a rookie contract, super valuable. Look what the Niners are doing with maybe a better version of Brock Purdy. If you don't get that until it's time to pay him, well, you've kind of missed that great window there. I don't think the physical skill set for Beck is as good as Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, other guys. So that concerns me a little bit. I think we're going to force a QB early this year for a lot of teams. Not for New England. It will eventually be Drake May. And I think getting a legitimate left tackle in there in Kelvin Banks, 0 complaints. Smart move from Kyle in this mock draft. The Commanders, Will Johnson out of Michigan. Malik Neighbors smoked him. Took him out back. Low and slow ribs. It was bad. They don't have enough talent out there on defense. So getting more talent for Dan Quinn's team makes sense. But maybe also you consider a wide receiver or an offensive tackle too. Denver, Tetairoa McMillan. I think they call him T-Mac on air because they don't trust the first name pronunciation, by the way. I don't know if you've watched any of those Fox games. I love McMillan. Now, he's kind of a weird profile. He's like a giant, skinny, fast slot who is as good in catch as you think for a guy his size. He's kind of skinny, though. But the Arizona offense line is F it, McMillan down there somewhere. And it works. You get a playmaker for Bo Nix. That makes sense to me. Shedeur Sanders, number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't mind my quarterback having a bit of edge. That can be a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, though. And I think the biggest question mark for Shedeur he's going to face come combine time, come interview time, is, hey, how's the leadership? Because you don't want to see your player taking shots at old teammates on social media. I'm sorry, that's just a bad look. Taking shots at your current offensive line. He wasn't wrong, but sometimes don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all type of deal. Support your guys. I think there's plenty of talent there. But it's the stuff that's the intangibles sometimes matter even more so. Who will be the first quarterback drafted this year? Cam Ward, Carson Beck, Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers. It is not going to be Connor Wigman. He might have to go hit the transfer portal, by the way. Tell me who you think goes first among QBs at the pin comment of today's show. Will Campbell, LSU, tackle, number 7. Put him on the left side, put Jason Latham on the right side with the pitch from Kyle, and yeah, I'm on board with that. I think that's a good idea for Tennessee. There's Travis Hunter, number 8 overall. He plays wide receiver and corner, and I legitimately want to try him at both spots. Now, I think he's probably a better corner right now than he is wide receiver, not by much, but receiver also makes a lot more money, which is not something that I think Hunter will ignore there. I kind of want to try him at both spots. He can be your number 3 corner and your number 3 wide receiver. Because you're in 11 and nickel so much anyway, you kind of cut down on the snap count a little bit there to make it easier for him. Cardinals could use both. Although I think receiver probably less so because I like that trio. I think Greg Dortch is a fun slot. I love Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison is a great number 1. I think Wilson's a fun fit as a 2. but corner also is a need for Arizona. I think like every mock draft you watch or see or read is going to put a Michigan defensive lineman to the Minnesota Vikings. They are high on both of them, by the way. Coming into the year, they were. I know that for a fact. And Mason Graham's a great football player. Fills a huge need. It makes a ton of sense, right? I like this fit, too. Luther Burden, slower start to the year. Missouri's not played the best competition. He'll get going. Kind of a Yankee player. Different style than some of the other options on this Browns offense. I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with him. He's not like a Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase. He's kind of like a lesser version of that one. But I think Burden is a really fun fit for what the Browns want to do. Maybe it's not as obvious as like every mock draft's going to have Minnesota taking a defensive lineman and Tennessee taking an offensive lineman. I think Burden in Cleveland is a fun fit. If you have not already, download the Game Time app today. It is a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It is curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The all-in pricing feature shows you your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. The lowest price guarantee is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? It's game time. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's gametime.co, promo code CHATSPORTS. Indy taking Benjamin Morrison. They need a number one corner. Benjamin Morrison, I know that's not much to say on it, but sometimes the stuff that makes sense doesn't need a ton of answers for you. The Falcons, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, been a bit nicked up against, and hasn't played a ton because it's been bad competition. He's a bendy pass rusher, though. He's athletic. I like those guys. They're harder to find. He makes a lot of sense for the Falcons. Chargers, look at some Michigan man for Jim Harbaugh. I think DT's a need, and Kenneth Grant is a freaky athlete, so I think still needs polish like some of the other freaky athletes to come out of Michigan on the trenches in recent years. But Grant is a very fun football player who will get a ton of hype come combine time. If he's not, already getting the hype as a top 15 projected pick. Abdul Carter out of Penn State. I don't know if Seattle needs an edge the same way we felt they did previously, but it's okay. Carter off to a slightly slower start than I'd hoped for, but a lot of game left to go. He'll get Micah Parsons comps as the linebacker turned edge who hasn't been quite productive as I'd hoped for. Garrett Nussmeier at 15. And I have seen things I've liked from Garrett Nussmeier. I have a very difficult time getting over that pick against South Carolina. That should have cost them the game. That is I am forcing a corner route against triple coverage and just not reading to see what the defense actually is. He thought they were in man. He wanted to throw with anticipation. There's three guys right there. I think he's probably better off not going pro after this year. Dolphins quarterback, I get it. But I think in general, and we're all going to do it, because teams need QBs. There is not, an obvious locked-in, clear-cut first-round pick at QB right now. Maybe Beck is a first-round pick in most classes, but is he a locked-in top 3 pick in most classes? No. There's going to be forcing of quarterback picks that will probably get regimes fired. Now, look, it is never too early to talk about the NFL draft. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV if you're watching on our main channel or our draft channel. Make sure you're subbed over there as well. The Bears, Michael Williams out of Georgia. He's been nicked up. That's why I haven't heard his name as much. Once he gets healthy, watch out. And another pass rusher, always a good idea to have in Chicago. Maybe you want an offensive lineman instead. That's what the Saints did at 17. Emory Jones. Stays in the Bayou. I don't hate that at all, actually. Although Trevor Penning hasn't been that bad. 2 games only, so we'll see how that plays out moving forward. Siobhan Revell Jr., everyone's done on him since Dane Brugler mentioned him. Everyone's like, oh, Dane mentioned him? We should go watch ECU film. Oh, my God, he's awesome. That's how it goes sometimes, right? big boy, had the awesome pick 6 for ECU. Senior Bowl could have like a Quinyon Mitchell-esque impact on his stock. Tetairoa Davis out of Arizona. I'm glad Kyle put him on because I like a lot of these Arizona players. McMillan. Buffett is fun, but is maybe too backyardy to actually work as an NFL QB. Davis is a good corner. Still got room to grow, but I think for the Rams, it's a pretty solid fit. I do like this fit, too. Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, the defensive tackle. The first OSU player taken, by the way, in this mock draft. We watched the Saints game, right? They still need DT help. And their best one is Oso Odigizua, who's a free agent after the season, by the way. Steelers, Isaiah Bond, 21. You didn't get the Brandon Ayuk, didn't get insert wide receiver here. Here's a speedy threat that I think pairs pretty decently with George Pickens. Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Not a great start to the Aggies season, but it's an early season after all. They're not out of it quite yet. Another front player for Tampa. I don't know if they desperately need that, but this is the right range for him so far, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Ariante Ursary. I would be a little surprised if the Bengals moved on from Orlando Brown after this season. If they did, okay, Ursary could make some sense there. I still think there are maybe bigger concerns overall with the Bengals than swapping out one player for a first-round pick, but they've missed on some draft picks, kind of putting them in a bad spot. The Jets get Malachi Starks. Value-wise, as we sit right now, he's probably a top 10 player on my board. He's awesome. And Jets getting an impact true free safety be a lot of fun for that team in the back end. The Eagles would never actually do it because they value the premium positions too much. Edge, corner, wide receiver, offensive line. But they do need an impact safety. Kevin Winston would be great. He's a damn good football player. It's just so unlike the Eagles, I wouldn't assume it actually happens. I love Ashton Jeanty. He probably is our one with how good he's been so far this season. He's a great fit for Houston. They also just paid Joe Mixon. I don't know if they'd actually cut Mixon after 1 year. For a team that wants to run the football, though, and will lean on it, it's a fun idea. It's a good running back class, by the way. There's a lot of talented players that are going to go in the whatever 20s to 50-something range. You can have 5 guys go in that range. How many running backs do you think go in round 1? Let me know in the comments section of today's video. Number 27, Jack Sawyer of the Ohio State. He's been really good for the Buckeyes. And again, he got some more competition to come. But he could have been a top 50, top 75 pick last year. Could bump himself in round 1. I like Green Bay going corner. I'm hoping Denzel Burke kind of gets back on track. It's been a little bit inconsistent in recent years for Burke, but I think there's plenty of talent there. Harold Perkins, the athlete for LSU. He's not an edge rusher. I get vibes of the worst versions of Isaiah Simmons in the NFL. Of like the downside of like, is he a linebacker? Is he a blitzer? Is he a nickel? They gave him like almost like strong safety reps, kind of like they made him the overhang defender. I still don't know how to best maximize him in the NFL. And I think you have to go to a good defensive coordinator to make this work. But there's talent there. It's just how you deploy it properly, I think, is still a question mark. Ravens get an offensive lineman. They need one. Jonas Savaiinaea out of Arizona. He might be a guard in the NFL, but I think he's going to be a good one. Tyler Barron has had a very strong year for Miami so far. The Tennessee transfer goes to the Detroit Lions. They could use more help there. It's a logical fit. I like it. Chiefs get another wide receiver. I honestly would have gone Colston Loveland here, by the way. I think they've been a really fun fit for KC. But Emeka Egbuka as a complementary skill set to Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy kind of works. I wonder if a true big body on the outside would make more sense, though. Like, they're not going to get him, but McMillan would be so much fun in Kansas City because he's still a little finesse. But a physical body to pair with Rashee Rice underneath and Worthy as the speedy guy could be a good trio at wide receiver. But Egbuka as a possession, route runner, okay, I don't mind that either. Who did Kyle Krabs leave off of his 2025 NFL mock draft? Let me know in the comments of today's show. I'll mention a couple names that I want to mention too. Quinn Ewers not on there. Now, it's a weird spot for Quinn, man. He was playing great football, and he got hurt again. And he's been hurt a lot. Durability is a red flag. He's not going to be able to prove that the Michigan game was what he is moving forward the same way that he didn't prove it against versus Alabama, where the deep passing kind of went away beyond that one game. What's going to happen with the Arch Manning thing? Come back in in a month and we'll know. But there are question marks there. Colston Loveland, it's probably just positional value, and he had a bad drop or a bad fumble. Got to work on that. Other quarterbacks obviously fit that mold too. Deion Walker, I love him. You don't find 360-pound dudes that play edge. He was standing up against Florida again, or against Georgia again. That's insanity. I love it. He's so much fun. Jalen Walker's looked really good for Georgia. Didn't have a sack, but he was in Kentucky's backfield all game long. But he's also a bit of an unknown. Hasn't played a ton, so you got to see the entire season. So I get not putting him in immediately. Tommy Hill's been pretty good for Nebraska. He's kind of a under-the-radar name that I like what I've seen so far. Former wide receiver. Nebraska's not got a ton of talent that's experienced, but Hill certainly is one of them.